Guys, here we are on the big block Mopar, getting ready to put the oil pan on. Tonight we'll go through the steps of how I'm going to install this, the pickup, and the windage tray. This guy's got extra capacity. It's a 7-quart pan, and I bought a pickup that is made for it. You don't want to use a stock pickup, which would be too shallow with a deep pan. So we'll do a couple checks. I've got a windage tray. I got 2 gaskets. I've got some oil-rated sealant I'm going to use. And yeah, we'll go over the steps here. So I guess first thing, go ahead and get this thing started. You know, get it threaded into your block. Of course, everything's clean. I've made sure that everything is nice and clean in here, including the oil pan rail, because this is the last time you're going to see it. 3, 4, 5, getting snug on 6. Okay, so I'm going to say you want at least 5 or 6 threads engaged in the block. This is just a check. We're going to come back and take this out and then put some thread sealant on it to make it a permanent seal, nice and tight, so you'll never suck in any air up there. I don't think you would anyways. It's really tight threads. But yeah, let's do this temporary check installation here where we are going to see how the oil pan fits relative to it. Okay, it's getting tight. Be careful reefing on it that you don't like break any of the welds. You're going to want to rotate it around so it's kind of square with the saddles here. I'm going to say that's really close, right about there. Okay, so first thing you want to do is get yourself some clay, or, you know, bubble gum, silly putty, Play-Doh, whatever you have that's flexible, and put a piece of that on there. We're going to put the oil pan on and see how close this is to the bottom of the oil pan. You don't want a big gap, because when your engine's running at full tilt, that oil is all suspended. It's up on the top of the engine. It's all over the place trying to get back to the oil pan, and you don't want that last quart or two that could be down there. You know, high volume oil pumps pumping a lot. You don't want it to run dry. All right, so we've got that. I did mic the gaskets and the windage tray, and it actually came out to be a little thicker than I thought, like 0.2 inches. Of course, these are cork gaskets, and they're going to compress. I've got a pair of the Felpro gaskets. I bought one extra, and one came in the kit. There is a little cutout here for the dipstick area. So just for this trial fit, get it set in place. I can set the windage tray on there. I don't think I'm going to do both gaskets to start. Let's see here. How this is going to fit. I'm going to thread that all around here, I think. Yeah, kind of like that. Snake that in. That might be indicative of installation challenge later, right? When I've got those gaskets all tacked up with RTV, and then you're trying to get that windage tray in. You really can't do it first. I mean, I guess you could get one gasket down, I guess, now that I think about it. So it's been a while since I've done this, but we're gonna get one gasket and a windage tray. I do have a second gasket that's not in there. Again, this is going to compress down later, but let's see where we end up, okay? Check out your hole, kind of bring it down, try not to knock that bubble gum into your engine, okay? And get her lined up. Come down. Oh, I feel it touching. Okay. Let it compress a little bit. Push down, and we're going to see where we're at. Looks like it's sitting flat. Read up a little bit here. Okay. All right, let's see how much clearance we have. Carefully get her off of there. Again, so you don't lose that clay or whatever you're using down in your engine. Okay. Well, there you have it. That's how close this is to the bottom of that pan. And it's not very much, okay? We could measure it and see. And it's about a little less than 1/4 of an inch. So that's not bad. I mean, we're gonna have one more gasket in there, but we're gonna be compressing them. So I think we're really close to where we want to be. Now, if you're not, you can bend it. Bending it is not too hard of a task, other than you don't want to break your welds. So do it carefully. Get your gasket out of the way if you do have to bend it. I've got a block of wood here, making sure it's clean. And grab yourself a metal bar, something you can pry with. I've wrapped this one in a towel just to protect the paint and not put a crease or something in there. And you can slide that underneath and just give it a little bit of love. Okay? Little bend. And then, of course, just go through the process and check it again. So I didn't really give that too much. I don't think it even moved. Maybe just a skosh. But we'll go through it one more time real quick. Throw that cutout down there. Okay, there we go. And grab our oil pan, the clay. Set that back in place. Push it down there so it doesn't fall. Bring your pan in again, careful. And go ahead and set her down. Okay. Hopefully I didn't roll it off the pickup and down into the engine. Felt like I shifted it a little bit. Let's see. It's stuck on the bottom of the pan this time. Okay. Well, we're close. We're getting really close to the bottom of the pan. It smashed it right to the bottom. All right, let's give that a check with the calipers and see what we get. Okay, now we're down to about 0.2. So I guess I bent it a little bit. I'm going to call that good right there. I'm going to get this stuff out of the way. And I'm tempted to put the windage tray in one gasket down before I even put the pickup on permanently. But let's see here. I guess it wasn't terribly difficult to snake that in. Okay, I'm going to spin that guy out. Make sure you don't have any, paint, burrs, or anything on your threads. I'm going to clean those off a little bit just to make sure that thread sealant or Loctite sticks good. I cleaned out the block threads a little bit. This is the last time you're going to see the inside on the bottom of the engine, so make sure nothing got in there, any dirt, hair, whatever. And then, let's go ahead and get some Loctite on this to seal up the threads. Okay. Don't have to get too crazy. I saw a video where a guy used like Teflon tape. Saw another guy use some like pipe dope. But, I mean, you don't really want that stuff getting into your oil. Your oil, that hot oil is going to be rinsing like everything off. I am going to just try this thread sealant, thread locker. Okay, okay, come on now. Of course, when I've got that thread sealant on it, it's not wanting to start. Here it goes. All right, now it's behaving. Okay, and it's getting tight right there. Bring it around so it's parallel with these saddles. That looks real good right there. Okay, so that's solid. Now I guess we're just going to start to goop things up. I've got my bolts ready to go. There's 4 short ones, and these go on the ends, this timing cover, and back here on that rear seal cap. The other ones are just a little bit longer thread. Here's how they look next to each other. These happen to be a pair of original ones, so they're a little discolored, but I cleaned everything. Threw some Street Hemi orange paint on there. So yeah, those things are looking good and clean. And I think I'll put some sealant down and start with the gasket and the windage tray. And we'll start buttoning this thing up. All right, looks like that's still nice and tacky. If you have like holes, pits if you want to say, back here on this rear main cap, you'll want to fill them in. And if you have any like gasket material up here at your front cover, you might have something there. Just take a razor blade and trim that off a little bit. Don't have a blade, a piece of a gasket sticking up that's going to want to cut the cork. All right. Same thing back here. Those side seals on the cap, make sure those things are not sticking up. I've got mine cut flush. All right. We'll just start here. Go around. I'm going to put a little bit extra here on the cap. Okay. And the goal here is just to make sure that you don't have a gap in this sealant. You don't need to get too crazy. I'll put a little bit extra where those little indents were, where the bolts fasten that cap down. Okay. And don't get it all inside your engine, of course. Okay. I saw one video, the guy said, well, no matter what, you're going to be fighting with those cork gaskets to keep your engine from leaking. So we'll see. Just do your best. That's all you can do. And if you come back later and have a problem, well, you won't regret spending some extra time. You've done everything you could do. You just have to go through the paces of resolving it. Probably taking it off and re-gasketing it. Okay, this front cover is a little weird. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit more sealant where it joins that gasket. Okay. Don't have a lot of room to work with there. It's kind of narrow on the side towards the inside. Okay, a little extra right there. Looks pretty good. Okay, let me move around the camera here. Come to this side. I wiped all this down with mineral spirits. Dried it up real good. Hoping that this RTV seals up good. This is the ultra black oil resistant. Okay, here's your dipstick area here. So the gasket's really thin, if you remember, in that area. So don't get a bunch of goop down in your dipstick passageway there. Okay. A little extra over the holes is not going to hurt, right? The bolt's just going to push it down into a blind hole in the block. Okay. Okay, well, it's looking pretty good to me. A little bit more right here. Don't want to go too crazy with this stuff. We've got a lot of gasket surface area to seal up, but don't miss any. It's looking pretty good. Give it one last go over. And put a little bit more back here. These are just slightly different. They're not really precision surfaces. So I think that's why they use a cork gasket. Take up some of that tolerance, if you will. All right, let's see here. All right, so this comes down here, and it's got a little cutout for the dipstick and another one for this pickup tube. All right. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's see if this thing will kind of stay in place. Make sure all those bolt holes are lined up, or you're going to be fighting it later when you put the bolts in. Okay, press it down good. And hopefully it doesn't scoot out of the way when we snake that windage tray in there. I think this time what I'll do is I'll put a little bit of that goop right on the tray itself. Seems like a good idea. Okay, so this is an original tray. It was in good shape. It wasn't all like mangled up, so I'll use it. It's got just a little bit of light corrosion that I had to clean up in a couple spots, but I don't know why something that was submerged in oil, why it would get corroded, but nonetheless there was a little bit of, I don't know if I call it rust, I guess, but some type of corrosion on it. It is probably just mild steel. It's not stainless, I'll tell you that. All right. Looking pretty good. This is where I should probably invest some time in editing videos, because this is ultra boring. Hey, you can always fast forward, right? Modern technology. But at least we know exactly how long I take to do each step, because I have yet to edit out any time on these videos. So we'll get done, we'll find out I spent like 50 hours building an engine that should have took 10. Oh well. We're having fun doing it, right? This is like hobby stuff. I'm not doing this for a living or I'd starve to death. Okay. Or I would get fired for shoddy work, right? All right. It's not looking terrible. It's kind of like running caulk around the bathtub. You know, some guys are really good at it, could do it in their sleep, and other guys, it just never looks good no matter how hard you try. I think I'm one of the latter. Okay, that looks good to me. I don't know. So let's see if we can get it in there without making a mess of it. We had a couple practice tries. So we kind of came in like so. And at some point you can turn it a little bit, I think. Try not to hit the crank itself there. I'll wipe all my RTV on the crank. I don't want to do that. Okay. Kind of ease her in. Okay. Looks good. No RTV on the crank. Okay. Line up your bolt holes. Press it down. If you want, you can grab a bolt. If you need to, like, if the gasket moved on you a little bit, and just kind of give it a nudge. Make sure the gasket's where you want it. If you see anything that looks suspicious, now's the time to try it. Make sure you can get the bolt started. Okay, just don't drop it in your engine. Okay, I think I'm good. Try a couple spots here. Looks like she's going. This area over here is, I got a little bit of winking. I can see that gasket just covering a little bit of the hole. All right, and we go again. Now I got one more gasket and oil pan and say goodbye to the bottom end. All right, here we go. And I'm not sure what's next. I haven't thought about it. Should I put the water pump housing on? Or maybe we'll get after the heads. I think we'll probably lube the cam up a little more. And we'll check the distributor gear. I bought a new one of those. I'll show you that. And, or the intermediate shaft as they call it, to drive the oil pump. The top of the gear is where the distributor fits in. So I might mess with that. I think we're gonna do some work on the cylinder heads. I'm gonna check them to the gaskets and see if indeed we've got a little material we need to remove on the heads. And we'll do a couple other little tricks before we put those on. And I'm going to break in the cam with the stock 1.5 rockers. I really wanted to do 1.6 rockers, you know, just to make the cam a little bit more radical, if you will, even though it's a street motor. I want it to sound great, want it to make good power. But I don't want to break in the cam really with 1.6s. I think I'm going to use 1.5s. I don't need any extra pressure on that cam while it's breaking in. Sorry, my mind's going and then my mouth stops, so I'm talking in phrases and I apologize. Okay, that looks pretty decent. One last look, make sure we don't have any gaps anywhere. It's a little bit thin up here. Okay, dab there. A little thin back here where I started. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Got a little bit around each bolt hole. Okay, another gasket here. Pretty close. There we go, bingo. Okay. Right, well, we're getting our money's worth out of that sealant tonight, using a lot of it. I mean, it's a thin coat, but we're going around a lot of times here. Okay, this looks pretty nice. Happy with that. Okay, so your prerogative on this one, do you want to put it on here or on the gasket? I don't like smearing RTV on cork gaskets, I guess. So I'm going to go around on the oil pan and just hit this. All right. I'm going a little bit heavier on this. There's little ribs. I don't know if you can see those, like in between each bolt hole. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of coating both sides of that. I'm going wider in that rib area and then around the bolt hole itself. Okay. The pressure's not going to be in the low spot. You know, it's going to probably be on the edges either side of it. Okay. So let's continue. And if you get a little crazy and you get some on the inside, just take your time, wipe it off. No harm, no foul. No one will see it. Get this around. Alright, there we go. Better have enough of the RTV to go around. Okay. you can kind of see the high spots when you hold it up. So this is a brand new pan, and yet, you know, there's a little deformation here. It's not bad, but you can see it when you look close. So between the cork and the RTV, it should take it up fine. Okay. Looking pretty good. All right. I think we're done. Make sure you're happy with it. Add a little extra if you need to. Looking pretty good with it. Do a little bit more here. The high spots. Back here a little bit more. I got extra sealant, so now I'm going crazy. Okay, I think we're gonna call it good before I get too wild there. Okay, make sure there's none on the inside. This area I'm getting a little bit close. Give it a little wipe with your finger. Okay. Yeah, I got a little bit. Put it on my Hard Rock t-shirt there. Okay. I think we're good. Okay, bada bing. Okay, good. All right, now we're on to the bolts, and I'll check the book on the spec. I think the Mopar book says 15 foot-pounds. Hold on a second. Yeah, 15 foot-pounds. That's a lot on cork. We'll see. I might just do 10 and then come back tomorrow after things kind of set up, and then compress the gasket just a little bit more. I'm not sure. We're going to kind of go by feel to start the process here, and see what we think about, you know, hand tight, and then from there we'll maybe take it up to 10 foot-pounds. That'll be safe. Okay. And with these double gaskets in the windage tray, I'm not sure if these short ones are long enough, you know. So there's a little lesson, I guess, that we just figured out. And fortunately, I have some extra bolts. But these short ones that I think are intended for the ends, I'm not getting a lot of... Sorry, I walked away. I'm not getting a lot of thread engagement there. So let me see. I have a bunch of other ones that I think are the same as these. I'm gonna try those. I have plenty. I did go to the hardware store and actually bought some new bolts. So I know I have plenty, but I guess I'm lucky I have a few of these longer ones that are quote-unquote extra. Okay. They're not fitting nice into the front cover though. I'm not going to force it. Get a few more of them aligned, and then I'll go back and try those again. Okay, that's looking pretty nice. There's another long one. I grab this corner here. Okay. And I got these. I'll paint it up and ready to go. I'll run these down the sides. might be one of those videos that you can watch, help you go to sleep at night. You know, I don't really use power tools hardly at all doing engine stuff like this. I like to feel the bolts go in by hand. I like to torque them by hand, just in case, you know, you run into a burr or something like that. If you're using an impact or some type of power driver, you're never going to feel it. And I guess 9 times out of 10 it's probably not an issue, but it depends what aspect you're working on. An oil pan bolt is pretty benign. I don't think it's going to matter, but we're still going to use hand tools. Because, hey, you don't need special tools for the most part. And like we showed on the balancer, you can rent those. Speaking of the balancer, I have a little dab of RTV on there. I have to wipe that off before it dries. Okay, so I have everything except this front cover started. So we are in decent shape, but let's figure out what's going on up here. Could those possibly be a different thread? And there it goes. I actually think there's a little burr, and that's a brand new, timing cover. So let's go after that one first and see how it feels here. Just really lightly. Yeah, it could even be paint, you know. I'm not going to blame it on the timing cover manufacturer because I painted it, so maybe there's a little paint drip in there. Okay, looking good. Let's just go hand tight to start. And then I'll use the ratchet at hand tight, and then we'll throw the torque wrench on it, and we'll see what 10 feels like. So that's a small torque wrench, inch-pounds. So there's 12 inches in a foot. So 10 foot-pounds would be 120 inch-pounds. Okay, 15 would be 180. So half of 120, 60, yeah, 180 would be 15. And I think as low as it goes is 120. And I never like using torque wrenches on their, you know, ragged edges of their capability. I don't think they're as accurate. Maybe that's just my opinion, but I guess if you have higher end stuff, maybe it is. I've never really, a long time anyways, checked the calibration of my small torque wrench. Before we started this engine build, I did check my big one before we did the rod bolts, if you remember that. Okay. Okay, I shouldn't dent it up. Okay. Where did I leave off here? Now that one, my socket is getting in the way a little bit of this oil pan rail. Okay, I'm going to come back around. Make sure they all feel similar. This is the one that's hard to get to. Like I said, I think I'm going to come back tomorrow after that cork kind of compresses a little bit and check them again. I can almost guarantee you if you did this once real fast and just started up your engine, you probably have a leak. But maybe that's just me. I'm going to check it tomorrow. Okay, apparently I'm nowhere near 10. I'm not sensing any clicking of my torque wrench here yet. So I guess if I'm not even close to 10, well, I'm nowhere near 15. So I'm not going to sweat it too much. I kind of like going by feel compared to the torque wrench. All right. Well, I'm going to play with this a little bit more. Just keep creeping up on 10 foot-pounds. And then we'll hit each one with this torque wrench at 120 inch-pounds and call it good. All right, well, I'll give some thought to what the next video will be. Obviously, we're going topside next, so we will see you on the flip side. See ya!